Susan Robbins, thank you so much for saying yes to being on Spirit of an Athlete with me and sharing your knowledge about epigenetics and pattern recognition, really, and helping people understand their body. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. As soon as we chatted, I was like, yes, I need to be on here. So
The cat does too, apparently.
I think as soon as he sees me go on air, he wants to be here. So
Heck yes, he's a show cat. I can see it.
uh,
All right, so Susan, help our audience understand what in the world is epigenetics,
yeah, usually what I say, I'm an epigenetic human performance coach. I get the deer in the headlights and they go, Epa
right?
what?
Hammer.
So epigenetics, very simply put, is how your lifestyle and environment affect how your genes express. So our genes don't change, but the expression of them does. So your lifestyle and environment, the choices you make affect how those genes will express and what we see with them. So
Okay,
we have control over about 95% of what our DNA does. And that's what people don't realize.
let's use you as an example for
Ugh,
this. So,
here we go.
give me what you didn't know before you became this expert when you were in CrossFit and when you were a police officer.
Oh, it was a hot mess. I didn't know. I'm very blunt and very direct, and this is part of how I was created. So I what I have come to find out, learning about myself, learning how I was formed in the womb, the predominant hormones that drive me, I have the predominant hormones of noradrenaline and testosterone, which makes me very direct, very competitive. I also have a very close secondary with another that is oxytocin, the intimacy hormone. So I'm all about connection. So you think about that. CrossFit, community, social, competitive. First thing I do, walk in, look at the whiteboard, right? And go,
Hmm.
look at the people that I knew were very comparable to my abilities and go, I need to beat that time, beat those reps, whatever. First thing, right?
Yes.
And as you see, I'm a very direct communicator. That's that testosterone in there, just very direct. So you see, I fit into the CrossFit part of me, and also means I'm made more, not as much for endurance, but if you think about a cat, like the one that just jumped up, right? If I go out
Hmm.
in the living room and look in 15 minutes, he'll be crashed. And then all of a sudden he's flying around. And that's what this body type does. We are made for that high intensity, there's quick bursts. We have to work hard, play hard, and rest hard. So all the times I tried all the different workouts, I found CrossFit. I was like, the heavens opened, and it was ideal for me, not knowing that this was why this was ideal. And then you bring that into the cop world, law enforcement. I'm very quick to react. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good. It's pretty good when you have to make a quick life or death decision to be able
Hmm.
to think on the fly and be spontaneous. So it really helped me there. Great problem solving skills, and that's that secondary because it's like multitasking.
Hmm.
Very adept with that. So all these things I started finding out, and then needing movement in my life every day. I need to move. So it never I was never at the point. I always wanted to be more fit and more fit in the academy, police academy back in 2002. I was the second oldest one at 36. And I had the highest overall fitness score of all the men and women in there. And now I see this is just basically how I'm made. I needed to beat everybody, including myself. Um, but the two fit really well for me. I just wasn't living according to how I should be living to do
Hmm.
either of those optimally because I'm also prone to burnout genetically because
Hmm.
I'm go, go, go. So I need to work hard, play hard, rest hard. And that rest hard was the elusive factor. So
Was it
understanding
because
that was huge.
was it elusive because of your work schedule? Was it elusive because of the way that you were working out and your work schedule? What was the thing preventing you from getting the rest you needed?
It was all of it. I thought all my life until I was 54 and found all this out that I was a night owl. So even when I came out of the academy, I worked graveyards because I said, I stay up all night. Okay, right there, I went against, I'm actually an early bird. I am more functional in the daytime. And so I would finish a 10-hour shift and then I would go to CrossFit Endurance at 6:30 at night. not realizing that this is when my body is like, I need to be calm and bringing in that sleep. So I wouldn't go to bed till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, um, and spent most of my life this way. And so I was perpetually tired, developed autoimmune diseases.
Hmm.
We know that's just a body out of balance. And so they were just, and I also got chronic Lyme, well, I'd gotten Lyme disease in within this time as well. And here I kept doing things that were just driving my body into the tank. Stress, even exercise is great for stress, but if you're doing it at the wrong time, you're stressing and it's high intensity, which stresses the body more, increases that cortisol. And I'm doing that at night. I was just, now you see why I said it was a hot mess.
Hmm.
Just very, very out of flow and doing the opposite of what my body and my mind really actually needed.
Right.
So by understanding this at the age of 54, I'm, I mean, and it flipped like a switch so quickly into optimal performance. I was shocked. Weight loss that I couldn't shake. I was the smallest I'd been since grade school.
Oh my.
I kid you not. And I was fat girl in grade school, but to get down to that weight now, it made
You're
a huge
structurally
difference.
different.
Yeah, very structurally different, muscular. I mean, again, that's naturally how I'm built, but you could never see it.
Oh,
Yeah, so just a lot of, and then more consistent energy, the sleep times. So it's chronobiology. When you do the things you're designed to do at the times you're designed to do it, whether it's sleeping, eating, thinking, socializing, working out, it's a game changer for all
yeah.
performance.
Okay, let's go there. Let's go there because this is the audience is like got to be like I'm right now I'm like, okay, well, how do I apply all of this to myself so that I can optimize weight loss, optimize when I'm working out, optimize how I'm eating, optimize how I'm sleeping, and then also make that work within my schedule with
Yes.
all the other things I have to do, like mom,
Mhm.
work, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. All right. So first off, how in the world did you find out that you were doing things wrong? You were a hot mess.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd been certified to do DNA since 2019. I got my certification, and so I started bringing in the different DNA things that I saw, which made sense to me. Um, but I still was holding on to this weight. I was still tired because it didn't tell me exactly what I needed. Well,
Mhm.
the end of 2020, I came across a group, and the funny thing is, you'll appreciate this. We came together, a group of 7 of us, looking to put together a program for high performance athletes. And they
Yes.
said, we'd like you to be the epigenetic. And this was doing the DNA. And they
Yep.
said, there's another group with an epigenetic platform that's AI based out of Australia. And I'm like, I do DNA. I'm far superior, that's my health type. We are like the doubting Thomas going, yeah, really, I'm better. I don't need that information. And it looks at how you're formed in the womb, the predominant hormones that drive you. And it's got 15 layers of science in this algorithm that creates a profile that is unique to you according to how everything is currently expressing. So
Mhm.
I started using it, and that's like I said, the first thing was my coach said to me was, "When do you eat breakfast?" And I said, "Well, I don't. I intermittent fast because that's what we're told to do. Everybody should intermittent fast. Best thing since sliced bread." And and he said, "No, mate, you should be eating about 5 times a day." And I said, "No, I'm good with twice." And he said, "No, your body is made for movement and you need to fuel that movement throughout the day." And I said, "Well, I'm going to get fat because I'm going to eat too much." And he said, "Are you going to use this profile or not?" I said, "Yes, sir, I'll use it." Right. So it's an app and it's online. So I get in there and I start using it. I said, I can't eat this food because I was so paleo in my head and had coached for 4 years on paleo only that this was the be all end all for everyone.
Mhm.
And I said, wait, there's people that actually do okay with some grains. There's people that actually do okay with dairy. Who the hell would have thought? And it was blowing my mind. And so I started using it, and I mean, 11 pounds came off. So that is like your user manual.
Yep.
It kicks out, and with DNA, I have to do a cheek swab, right?
Right.
With It's called pH 360 or the Shea app. With this, we do measurements to see how you were formed in the womb. We measure things like your skull, your jaw, your hands, your feet, which we are going to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that tells us all of this information. Then the algorithm comes in through this questionnaire that we do, looking at health. How often are you working out? Because someone sedentary is going to have different requirements than someone doing 10 or more hours of activity a week, right? So all that's brought into it. And where you want to go. Do you want to build muscle, lose fat, do some of both, or just maintain where you are? So it's bringing all that into play. And then by the end of it, it kicks out a profile, like I said, that's unique to you, that I say is like your user manual. DNA is a blueprint, but this is your user manual. It says, here's your ideal times to eat and why. Here's your ideal training times, types of training, and why. Here's when you should be social. Here's when you should focus on your mind. Here's when you should focus on details or creativity,
Mm-hmm.
right down to sleep time. And it is a complete game changer to know that this is what my body and mind need for me to be optimal. So if you have
Mm-hmm.
an athlete, and I've worked with a college basketball player, and the person who brought him to me had him going to bed at 1 or 2 in the morning and waking up around 9 or 10. Well, this health type is actually a morning person. And
Uh-oh.
I said, you actually need to be in bed by 10 and up around 8. It was a game changer for him. He said he had no clue, and how actually mind is his number one priority. When you calm that body and bring that mind into nice, calm stress and focus. And he had trouble also building lean muscle, and the coach told him, you need to put on 20 pounds of lean muscle this year. We knew the types of exercises to do that. Again, the timing of everything and getting that sleep the right way. And he did it. So that's how crucial just these changes can be. And you had
Mm-hmm.
asked about bringing that in. How do you bring that into a schedule that's already
Yeah.
packed with things? If you start with priorities, there's 6 different priorities we work with, and I will tell you that out of the 6, only one health type, and that's mine, which we call the activator, made for movement, where food and fitness are the top 2.
Oh.
So you may be trying to prioritize that when you might be a type whose home is chaotic, it's disorganized, and it's not, or it doesn't give that feeling of awe. You don't have any personal time. That can create more stress and keep that body fat on you and keep you from optimal performance, right? So that's why we have to look at the individual, and then we start prioritizing. And
Mm.
it really is all about, you have to create. If you try to find time to do things, you're never going to find it. But if
Mm-hmm.
you create according to what you need to prioritize, you will start to get into a flow. So if you're working 8 to 5 and you are someone who's a health type who needs to have slow starts to mornings, you don't want to be planning to get up at 5 or 6 a.m. to work out. You want to do it at lunch, or you want to do it later in the day or after work, so that you have more energy throughout the day. So it's all about, when you understand it, you start to be able to create more within those time parameters that you have as a mom and a business person.
Right. And someone who wants to be an athlete too. Like,
Absolutely.
that's the other piece of the puzzle for me. Is I know powerlifting is something I definitely want to be doing, and my body, my nervous system loves it.
Oh, it's
So
made
it
for it.
exactly. It has to be prioritized into what I'm doing. But I'm
Yes.
not the type. So I know my type. I already took my PH 360 test, and I found out that I'm a diplomat. You're an activator. I'm a diplomat. Uh, and that as far as when I work out, I should be working out in the afternoon. And I'm thinking back to like my college days where the coaches are like, okay, we're going to do 6 a.m. practices 3 days a week. And we're going to get you done and dusted for your specific thing that you do in the sport. So for me, it was pitching. We're going to do that at 6 a.m. And then you're going to go off to classes at 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock were my first 2 classes every semester as I played softball,
Mm-hmm.
because we had to be done with all of our school, all of our braining by 2 o'clock so that we could go back to softball practice. And my afternoon softball practices were phenomenal.
Absolutely. Those
And my
morning ones, probably not so much.
absolute crap. But that dictated whether I was going to be a pitcher on that team or not.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I want to highlight this for the coaches that are listening to this episode, because some of your players are not optimally working out at the times that their bodies were meant to be working out, which means they are not performing at their best at that time that you're asking them to do the work.
Hmm.
I could have been a great pitcher at a Division I school if my practices were not at 6 o'clock in the freaking morning.
Very potentially, because it keeps you, I'm sure you saw in the like the earlier afternoons, you were beat. You were
Yes.
tired because it's taking all you have to do that in the morning. Where if you can switch that up to even late morning for a diplomat, late morning, just don't do anything intense in the morning. Get outside, go for a nice relaxing walk, take your dogs out. We talked about that, right?
Yes, I do that every
Um,
day.
Nice and chill. It's a beautiful way to start the day, but have that slower start because you actually come alive in the afternoon. Where I'm the opposite. I'm the morning person. You want me to do something at night? It's not going to happen.
Hmm. Mm.
I don't perform well. And that's where I realized I was just running on pure adrenaline doing CrossFit at, 4:30 was okay. The 6:30 just tanked. And here I was doing the endurance stuff. And it really, and I couldn't figure out, why am I getting worse? Why do I feel worse? Why do all these things keep happening?
Yeah.
Because my body was just so taxed. And I think that's what you see. I mean, it's after school, right? So you're going to see
Yep.
most practices in the afternoon, which is
Yep.
actually ideal for both health types or all health types. I'm sorry. I was thinking of yours and mine
Right.
because we are opposites on this circle.
Yes.
And, and, so it totally makes sense to, afternoon is ideal, but you like night games. Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
early morning, your body's still trying to wake up. Even to put food in it or early when you wake up is taxing on the body. So you see a
Mm-hmm.
lot of body composition issues and then performance. So just understanding for coaches, how your players are, what hormones are driving them, even
Mm-hmm.
understanding, is it competition driving them? Is it goals? Are they just goal oriented? Is it the social aspect? You always have, aren't the captains a lot of the times of a lot of the teams like your people just going, I just want to take care of everybody, make sure everybody's good. Not so much the performance, but just want to make sure everybody's good, right?
Depends on if the coach picked the captain or the players pick the captain.
Big
That
difference.
there is a difference there.
Big difference because the coach is going to be all about the performance
Mm-hmm.
and the team players, like they're the players, they can kind of jam more on that nurturing ability
Yes.
of that captain to make sure everybody's good and they have what they need and that helps the performance.
Yep.
So yeah, the more you understand,
Oh,
the more it helps you in all aspects of life. And you think about student athletes when it comes down to when's the best study times,
right.
right? You put all of this together, you have a much better performing athlete and student getting set. And the foods that the basketball player, he was still eating a lot of processed foods. And I said, let's cut the processed. He had his own apartment, which was great. So he was able to cook. And I said, let's cut out some of these heavily processed things and go more towards the whole foods. He was still, he didn't have any health issues. So he was still able to eat, specific foods, like eat some pasta once in a while, but we got him onto better types of things. And he stayed
Mm-hmm.
away from the cafeteria, hamburger buns and crap like that. And again, he was able to put lean muscle on. It was just a game changer.
I want to highlight one of the things that you said about how they came up with this algorithm that spits out what type you are. 15 different sciences. What
Yeah.
does that mean?
There's things in there. So when they did the research looking at the sciences that really were proven
Mm-hmm.
to work, um, you have things in there, chronobiology, okay? The embryology, this is how we're looking at how you're formed in the womb. And then you have things like Ayurvedics,
Yes.
which I knew you did. As soon as, again, we started talking, it was like, oh my gosh, Ayurveda,
Yeah.
and Chinese medicine. These
Yeah.
are medicines that have been around for years.
thousands
Well,
of
a lot
years,
longer than any of us.
thousands.
And they saw that they're highly impactful. So you'll see on a profile, like I said, you'll see why to eat some of these things, and you'll see that these are warming foods, cooling foods.
Mhm.
This all comes from those practices, and they're hugely impactful. Yeah.
When I look at my clients, I love to be able to profile them, right? And
Mhm.
go, okay, so Ayurvedically, you're either, and there's three doshas in Ayurveda: Pitta, Vata, and Kapha. And to be able to know this is what your type is and this is where you're imbalanced, and then be able to give them a diet based on that, because
Yes.
that's the beauty of what Ayurveda does. And then, of course, there's all the
Mhm.
herbs, and then Chinese medicine. What I love about Chinese medicine is going down the meridians and feeling into each of those meridians and understanding, okay, your heart meridian's a little off, your liver meridian's a little off, and here's what we need to do in order to impact that. It just, to hear that those two sciences in particular are thrown into this mix of
Yeah.
15 sciences combined. And then, of course, we're looking at just DNA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Truly, that DNA level of, this is what you were born with. This is how your cells built and how your DNA came together in the womb.
Mhm.
Yeah,
This is how to
that's
optimize.
huge.
We're
Yes,
always
and
looking
that's
at
foundational.
problems, right? Everybody's always looking at problems. This is wrong and this is wrong. When do we look at it's just the body is out of balance? The body is out of flow. What is disease? You're out of balance. Like there's homeostasis is off. Why don't we start looking at what does this body need and when to be
Hmm.
optimal? And it's that's a whole mindset change because we know that mindset creates that's our reality and that creates either crap you know with how our body works or it creates um what's the word I'm looking for
Optimized flow.
teamwork with the body, right? For lack of
Synergy.
the word that I can yes there thank you. Okay, so it's my Monday. So,
Ah,
I had very long
we
very
didn't
beautiful.
optimize for what time we did this podcast recording.
Yeah, this actually is. I'm supposed to be on fire. So this is good, and you're just this is good for both of us. You're just coming into it. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
On the cusp.
But when we again, the more we understand, and it also I think is super helpful because when you have, say you're pushing a student athlete to be super competitive, that's not how they're created.
Hmm.
They're all about the teamwork, the team. It's not just the me. And the more you push that competitive, like and some parents do, is like you have to do this. Not understanding them, it can really create a lot of issue within the body to try to be who you're not. So the more you understand what drives you, who you are, I've always been the loud, the boisterous, the direct one, and people say, you're too much. Since I was young, you're too much. Oh my God, what's all this connection? Why do you need so much connection? Everyone's alone. Just deal with being alone, things like that, right? And you
Ooh.
hear these things and then you start to apologize or you start to adhere to what your environment needs,
Hmm.
where we should be creating the environment that is conducive to what we need
Yeah.
in all aspects. And that's really what it's about.
I love that. That it needs to be highlighted. Create the
Nurture
environment
that.
that you need, not just deal with the environment you were given. Ugh. That's hard to do for some people. That's really hard to do for some
It
people because
absolutely is.
they're probably saying the same things that I was earlier. Oh, well, I'm a mom. I have to, take my kid to school and pick her up at certain times, and that's dictated by the school, which means that I don't get a slow start, but I do get out and do my walk first thing in the morning because I know that's what my body needs. And that was, by 42 years of self discovery.
Hmm.
And to be able to just go take a lovely AI test, pH 360 test, and go, oh, well, shoot. So here's the things that I need to change. I'm no longer working out in the morning. My food timing is definitely different. Trying to cram in breakfast before my day kicks off by taking my daughter to school at 7:30 in the morning.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, my body doesn't enjoy that at all.
And some
So,
diplomats they're one of the ones that actually do well with intermittent fasting. And
mm,
I have a lot of diplomats say, I don't always want to eat breakfast. I said, well, you don't have to. It's okay because you
Hmm.
are a body that stores more
Yeah.
and you get a bigger bang for your buck from your calories. It's okay
Okay.
if you
So
don't want to eat breakfast.
the wrist is one of those tests that tell us if we're endomorphic or exomorphic or mesomorphic, right? Those are the three. There's not more, are there?
Yeah, and that's based when you look at the pH 360 health types, there's 6 health types. And the activator is the true meso. You've
Okay.
got the guardian is the true endomorph, and
Mm,
you've got the sensor is the true ectomorph. They're your
okay.
really thin people, hard time putting on muscle. And then you've got in betweens. You have between that's part mesomorph and ectomorph. You've got the crusader. They're your
Okay.
triathletes. They've got that overactive brain from the sensor, who has the central nervous system predominant derm layer, and the athleticism of the activator. They're your endurance people because, yes, they're athletic, but not
Hmm.
like me. They want to go out and they want to do all the endurance to get out of their head. So
Yep.
you see a lot of triathletes, those type of, think of Dave Goggins, okay? He's
Oh,
a
yeah.
crusader from hell, right? That right, dopamine driven. There's bloody stumps of feet on his right, doesn't stop, right? They see
Mm,
that goal and there's the blinders are on.
yeah.
So they have the two of those, and you have the connector is part mesomorph, endomorph,
Okay.
and so your connectors and activators were shorter, more muscular, very agile, strong on the connect, really strong on the connector side. Tend to populate the CrossFit gyms.
Nice.
When you walk in, don't you tend to see a lot of smaller people, like your
Yep.
shorter little, right?
Yep.
And then you have your diplomat as part of the sensor and part of the, which is the ectomorph, and then part of the endomorph, which is the guardian. And depending on where they are in the circle, if it's closer up towards the guardian, you're going to see the bigger people. They just
Hmm.
carry more muscle and more body fat. Love
Hmm.
the power stuff. Now, if someone said, you're going to go do 200-meter sprints, you're like, oh God, no. I'm like all over 200-meter sprints, right? But you tell me I have to power lift, I'm going to try to throw, 100 pounds over my head.
Hmm.
Ew, right? So this is where, our strengths come in.
Yeah.
And then you see a diplomat that's more down on the sensor area, they're going to be typically thinner and have
Hmm.
more trouble putting on muscle. And you don't want them throwing very heavy things over their head, right? If especially on their cuspus sensor, um,
Hmm.
because they're not going to have as much of that muscle mass, where it's going to be a little less safe to be doing super heavy things. So again, when you understand where someone is, but that's where it's all endo, ecto, and then there are the combinations of the 2.
Interesting. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I was a different bone structure size before I started powerlifting. And I feel like my bones literally had to get stronger, bigger, uh, to become a powerlifter. So when I remember getting introduced to the wrist measurement where your fingers either touch, overlap, or they don't come together. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember doing that in high school, and I was a slight overlap.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as a power lifter, I'm a slight gap.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to look at just that piece of the measurements and go, okay, did I change? Did I, or am I actually honoring more of what I should have been the whole time?
Yeah, and it shouldn't change the bone mass itself, but it also could be inflammation. There's some of the things that we measure. Your elbow, and I've seen people as they've dropped weight and their inflammation goes down, the joints go down,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I thought, I was used to say when I was overweight, I mean, I was up to what, 100, I'm 5'1", and I've been up over 170 pounds. So I was a little butterball. And I used to say, well, I'm just bigger boned. That's what
Yeah.
he says. I'm just bigger boned.
Bigger
And then
bone.
when I lost the weight, I realized how small my bone structure actually is. And that's why we measure things. I've seen the jaw. When you start to drop the swelling here, that even
Hmm.
gets smaller. Neck is a huge, we measure neck, that's a huge marker of diabetes. Everybody thinks it's just the belly, right? So
Interesting.
that's why it's very specific measurements. People say, oh, I did my measurements and I can turn them in. And I said, no, I guarantee you didn't do the measurements I'm going to have you do. Right? Down to ankles, knees.
Yeah.
And so the profile is always going to meet you where you are. So we always remeasure about every 4 to 6 weeks. So it's
Mm.
meeting you where you are and it'll see changes
Yeah.
and it will adjust the foods accordingly.
Oh, I love that.
Hmm.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
All
fun
right.
stuff to jam on.
I
That's
mean,
why I live it and
seriously,
breathe it.
right? I'm geeking out over it because it is. It's changing the way that I am treating myself. Most of us are the tree in the forest and we can't see the forest. And we
Mhm.
don't know we're a part of it. And so it's seeing these different patterns and understanding it. And one of the things that I keep on going back to for myself is I'm continually gaining weight. And I know I'm in perimenopause, so that plays a role in this, but also why?
Mhm.
It, it doesn't make sense to me why that continues to happen month over month
Yeah.
over month. And I remember bringing this up on a podcast episode that I record back in March.
Mhm.
And here we are. It's October when we're recording this one. And same thing. I'm still gaining weight
Yeah.
and something's got to give. And I feel like I'm finally going to get to see the patterns of a
Yeah.
diplomat and better understand why in the world this continues to happen and then make the shift.
Yeah. It's a missing piece. It honestly is a missing
Yeah,
piece.
it really
I
is.
have so many clients. The majority of my clients are diplomats, biggest non-responder to exercise. A
Oh,
lot of it,
no.
again, is timing. You told you're lazy.
Yeah.
Uh, and so what I said, my brain just stopped. Well, the majority of my clients are diplomats for this reason.
Yeah.
And
Because
they're
we're
told
doing the
the
work.
generic things of you need to go high protein, you need to
Hmm.
go low carb. We look at labs, and some of the labs are frightening. But I've had so many that started out with keto because
Mm.
and starts turning the other way. And we see it, like I said, in lab work. We'll see insulin start going, glucose go up. And they go, but I'm not eating carbs. How is this happening?
Because your body's
Because of
going,
these other lifestyle things, there's this in a high cortisol body, you're still stressing it more and more
yep,
and more. And then what do these bodies of a diplomat and a guardian do? They store under stress,
yep.
and so there's just so many things that come into play, and you see it though. I think I've had 5 clients now on my podcast have come on to talk about their experiences, and 4 of them were diplomats. I just had a guardian, male,
Um,
who we turned his blood work around in 6 weeks from all high risk, the worst labs I've ever seen. Dropped
oh,
33 pounds. I have more clients than not say, I have not been able to lose weight for years that are losing weight. I had another one last week. She's like, oh my God, I finally broke my point. And this is within the first month or two. I I broke that threshold that I haven't been able to break in years. And to just see the scale going the right way, but we know it's not just about the weight, the
it's not.
energy, consistent
Exactly.
energy levels, better sleep, and just owning authentically who they are instead of apologizing for who we are. That
Yep.
you're too loud. Maybe with one I have sensor, and they're very autonomous. They get overwhelmed with too much. They need so much me time, and she had friends constantly saying, "Well, come on, just suck it up and come out with us." So she would to appease
Mm,
everybody else, and now she says, "I get it. I know it's the me time I need. This is where I recharge. Unlike my friends, I'm gonna
yep.
not. I'm not. I apologized all these years. I'm not apologizing anymore. So,
Hallelujah.
I don't apologize for being competitive anymore. Even during a game of Monopoly, I'm cutthroat. Right? I like to win. And I had stepkids years ago, and I remember they looked at their dad and they said, doesn't she realize we're little kids? I go, hey, it's all fair in Monopoly. Activator. He
Exactly.
didn't know, but that's just who I am, right? So again, the more we understand about ourselves and the more authentic we are, the more beautiful and amazing quality of life we live. It's just nobody knows this exists. That's why I started my podcast after being afraid to come out and put yourself out here, because that's what we do as podcasters. We're putting ourselves out here, and that's frightening, right? And
Yep.
I guess
It's
if you're
funny.
getting haters nowadays, you're doing something right. But people don't know that personalized health exists. There's DNA companies doing DNA out there, yes, and that's why I do it. I don't coach only on DNA because it's
Hmm.
not detailed enough. So I say that's your blueprint, doesn't change. You have your user manual. I combine the two, but I also have another coach working with me now who's also a pH expert, and she's doing pH only for people. So we have so many ways that people can work with my group
Hmm.
to achieve what they need to achieve. Now, as far as kids, there is pH for kids, but typically we need a child to at least be through puberty
Got it. Yeah.
to
The
get the
data
good
is
read.
limited by puberty.
Yeah, yeah.
Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense because it gives you different gene expressions.
Yep,
Hmm.
yep. But there is a pH 360 for kids, like I said, that they'll type your child so you understand how to raise a child according to who they are instead of who we want them to be.
Noted. Gonna go
Yeah,
find that. Drop me that so I can also put that in the show notes.
okay,
Susan, where can people find you on the internet so that they can come and get their profile and understand better who they are and how they should be using their body?
sure. All my consults are free. And you can reach me at healthyawakening.co, not .com. If you hit .com, it's going to come right back to you. So healthyawakening.co. My podcast, you can really take deep dives more into this, and it's in a very relatable way, is everydayepigenetics.co. And the podcast is Everyday Epigenetics, Raw, Real, Relatable, because I want it to be relatable to the layman and not this deep science that you have to look up every term. We should be able to have things we can put into daily use. So that's where that is. And it's all things lifestyle and environment and how they affect our genetic expression. You can email me, Susan at healthyawakening.co. And yeah, check me out. But all my consults are no charge to find out what you're looking to accomplish and see if we are fit, because we have to be a fit on both sides to work together. You have to be ready to make those changes and be your best self.
Yes. Okay. You guys go get a free consult to find out at a minimum which type you are from the pH 360 and then how to use that information. Because I did do my test and it didn't give me a whole lot of information. It gave me
No,
a couple of chunks like you should be working out later in the day, you should have a slower start in the morning, those kinds of things, but there are specific stuff that I can't wait to talk to you about
yeah,
when we do our consultation so that I know how to better use this body. So you guys go get the free consultation. Susan has your back, especially if you have some big goals or some little goals, or you just, don't feel like you're using your body properly and you really would like to know how to do that.
yep. If you don't feel amazing, and most people feel like just something is off, then
Mhm.
let's talk and get you optimal, because we should all feel amazing and not just good. That's not good
Yeah.
enough.
Yep. I know for me, my goal is to look the way that I feel.
Yes.
I have lots of muscle on this body. I would like to
Hmm?
look like I have a lot of muscle on this body.
That's right. That's right. You want to
Yeah,
feel the same. Sure. Totally get it.
exactly. Susan, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your knowledge about epigenetics and really understanding how to use this body the way it was meant to be used. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on. I've definitely enjoyed the conversation. My fellow
Yay.
Coloradan. I
Nice. Can't wait to meet you in person.
know.
Yay! You made it to the end of the episode. Good job. Now, go share this with your friends. Go like, subscribe, leave me a review. Let me know that you like what's happening here on the Gutsy Chick podcast. And if you're a female high performer with mysterious chronic health condition, go check out the Gutsy Chick quiz so you can find out what might be holding you back from healing. And if you want more on what I do with my clients and my blog and any podcasts that I've been a guest on, go to bodywhisperhealing.com. Thanks for listening.